Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Simona Spark, and our mission is to build a future where no one needs to come out anymore. Together, we can create a world where everyone has the right to love, to succeed, to have a family, and to live a full, happy life.
Welcome back, everyone. As promised a couple of weeks ago, we are back with Sonia and Caroline. Welcome back, ladies.
Oh, thank you for having us back.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming back and willing to share your experience of coming out and what was the challenges and how did you overcome those challenges. So, who want to go first?
Well, since she's pointing at me, that I guess it's me, which is fine.
There you go, Sonia. The mic is yours.
Thank you very much.
Well, I was 17 and I came out to both my moms, and it took me over 2 hours because even though they were my two moms, I still felt like I didn't want to disappoint because it seemed like my mom wanted something different for me. Like she didn't want me to go through the same struggles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 52, so when my mother was going through her identity, so we're talking about in the 50s and 60s. Back then, my God, to even think about wearing a pair of pants or go outside of being in that little tight box of who a woman was supposed to be, especially to have a relationship with another woman. So her backlash was a lot of prejudiceness and word calling, and she just had a really tough time. And what don't understand is that we don't choose this path. In my opinion, that's the way we're born. Didn't want to go down. I didn't want to swim against the current. So she would always say, I can't tell you who to love, but when you get married and have kids, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, how am I going to get married and have kids if I'm gay? So I didn't understand that as a kid either.
Right.
I still had the same problems coming out as any kid to their parent, even though I came out to my two moms. And that's only because of her hardships. She wanted me to be happy, but at the same time, she wanted me to maybe not be gay so that it would be easier for me.
Yeah, they already knew about the challenges that you might possibly need to face, and they didn't want that for you. And I'm curious, were you born in a family with two moms, or that was what your family became after you were born?
I was the youngest, so I only remember two moms. I only remember a stepfather or boyfriend. I'm like, my oldest is like 3 years older than me. I vaguely remember a boyfriend, but it's always been two moms from 77 or 72 till, I don't know, till like about 10 years ago. Well, I had my one mom, not my biological mom.
How was it for you to grow up into a family with two moms back then?
It was difficult for me because my mom was very feminine, my biological mom, and then my other mom was very Western, very cowboy, very the short hair, very butch.
Yeah, she brought the masculine energy into the house.
Yes, and so it was very difficult, right? Because we would go to functions or school. And then my friends would come up to me and say, hey, who's that? I said, those are my moms. And then they say, oh, you come from Lesbos. And, so there was all the name calling. And then I would have a really tough time with my identity because I want to say I knew from birth that I felt different. Have a with boys other than playing baseball or basketball or something, friendship like that. But I always had a draw to females. But it didn't really come to a head until I actually fell in love, or I should say in lust, with my neighbor across the street. That was a crush. So I was 17 and I came to my parents and I said, hey, I think I'm gay. And they said, well, my mom says, yes, you've always been. We're just waiting for you to say something. But before then, I never really said anything. It was just to them assumed, and relationships. I was really not even into having a relationship or anything with anyone. I just knew that I didn't like boys and I liked girls, but I didn't have experience until had a crush on my neighbor. So,
was there any changes in family dynamic after you came out?
In my family, no, because there are a lot of gay members in my family. That's always been a norm
Mm-hmm.
for me. There were, it was not a big deal. It never has been a big deal, even today. Yeah, but for whatever reason, I still found it difficult to come out to my mom, and that was based on not that she was going to be disappointed that, oh my God, you're gay. It was the whole disappointment of, well, I didn't want to disappoint her because she wanted me to have a better life, whatever that meant to her.
Mm-hmm. And we see that how children are more concerned about not disappointing their parents.
Right. I think the other thing that I struggled with too is she always used to say, when you get older and have kids, and I can't wait to see my grandkids. And so that I couldn't understand that, because I was thinking, well, if I'm gay, how am I supposed to have kids? Because I'm not going to have relationships with men. So now I'm disappointing her because now I'm not going to have kids. So am I supposed to not be gay?
Right.
So that's why I was confused with that too, because I didn't understand how a gay woman could have a
Children.
family.
Yeah.
But as far as being gay and coming out and them disowning me, no, absolutely, that was never an issue. I never felt that would happen, even if she was straight, because in our family, like I said, we run deep in our family. There are a lot of gay people in our family. Not uncommon at all. It's very normal.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for sharing this and showing us that even born into a family with two moms and a lot of gay people, it still takes a lot of emotions and struggle and worries and concerns for that child to come out.
Right. You want to have your own choice and who you want to be, but at the same time, want to listen to your parents and not disappoint them, because at that age, we think that they know everything already. But what we don't understand as parents is that we try to impose our dreams on our children without even realizing. And Carolyn can speak to that. So I think it was mom who wanted a normal life, kids, married, and all of that, the white picket fence. And that wasn't my dream.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sonia.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've talked about that. And then it's like my two moms. Well, I don't have either. They've passed. My mom passed when she was like 40. She was 49, barely 21.
Sorry for your loss, Sonia.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a cycle.
Well, I really appreciate your sharing, and I just want to honor your parents for raising you into an inclusive family and letting you know that it's okay and there's nothing wrong with you and you're perfect.
Thank you.
And it's just them being parents, and we want the best for our children. And as you make it so clear, it's not about what is your gender identity or whatever. I don't want you to struggle, and I don't want you to go through the same challenge that I went through.
Exactly.
Because they were speaking from firsthand experience.
Exactly. And we want to protect. And we find ourselves doing that as well with our kids and grandkids.
Yeah, we all do as parents with our children. And then at some point, we get to choose to trust that our children will make the right choices for them, and they're different. And we are from two different generations. And it's a learning curve for parents as well.
Yes.
So then you get to meet this wonderful woman, Carolyn, and all the dreams come true.
Thank you.
And it's all your mothers want for you, to have a family and a loving partner and have your own children. So there you go. She made it possible.
Yep. Never thought about it that way.
So what happened before that, Carolyn?
Okay. So for me, coming out was very different. I grew up in a household where there were a lot of secrets. There was a lot going on in my childhood. I actually didn't get the opportunity to come out to my parents. The guy that I was dating came out to my parents for me. Anyways,
He outed you?
Yeah, he outed me. It's an interesting experience. So when I was younger, I knew that I was not heterosexual. I knew it from a very young age. I think I was probably in the 7th grade when I had my first major crush, girl that I had been in junior high school. We'd gone to elementary school together, junior high school together. And then in high school, we were talking about getting our own place when we grew up and raising our own family, doing all of these wonderful things together. And then she called me up one Saturday afternoon and said that she was pregnant. And I was confused. So she had shared with me that she was dating a guy and that she really liked this guy and that we couldn't have any of the plans that we had made together. And I was okay. I was okay. And so I decided at that point in time that must be what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to go and date a guy to be normal like everybody else is and, not disappoint my parents. And at that point in my life, I would have done anything to at least have my parents appreciate or show any kind of affection towards me. So I started dating this guy in high school, and we dated for many, many years. And then when I was 26, we split up. And so I started seeing a woman, first woman that I had ever dated. And I was in heaven. I thought, gosh, do people know that relationships can be, like this? I didn't realize the dysfunction that was going on in that relationship because it was a different experience for me. And so I dated her for about a year, and then we split up because things were not good. And so Randy and I got back together again. We decided that we would stay together. And so I was sharing with him, what had happened, that I had dated a woman while we were apart. Lots of things happened between that time. And then we were having difficulties in our relationship. We split up again, and I found out I was pregnant. And so we tried to make things work. My parents had no idea that I had been dating a woman, even when I was living in the same apartment complex that my parents managed, and this woman was living with me. I don't think they really knew what was going on. But my mom has always turned a blind eye to certain things in my life anyways. So I really wasn't surprised. But my daughter was not even 3 months old. And Randy was very upset with me over just the way things were going. I was taking him to court for custody and visitations. And so he called my mom up on the phone and let her know that while we weren't together, I had been dating a woman. And my mom was blown away by this. She didn't like it at all, was not happy about it. My dad certainly wasn't happy about it. And so my mom lived for quite a few years with this idea that it didn't matter what I was doing. She was going to make up a story as to how I was living my life. I didn't have a close relationship with my family. I didn't get that support of, this is your family. Your family's always going to love you. I lived with the pain of my childhood for a lot of years. And so it was 14 years after my daughter had been born, and I had to make some hard decisions, and this is going completely off topic, but we'll come back around. I had to make some hard decisions about raising my daughter, and if I wanted to keep my daughter, then I needed to make some decisions about the family that I was involved with. And I moved on with my life, and I didn't see my parents, my sister, 14 years. And it wasn't until my mom was on hospice with cancer that somebody in the household reached out. And so Sonia, being the supportive person that she is, she's like, if you want to go home and see your mom, we'll go, but you're not going alone. And so we did. We went down there and we saw my mom. Sonia met my parents for the very first time. My sister fell in love with Sonia. She liked her. Right. I think my dad really liked her too. But their approval at that point, it didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was that I had chosen to live the life that felt true to the judgment that I was gaining on the other end. I would send the Mother's Day cards or the birthday cards, or make the phone call, send a picture of her granddaughter, just so that she was still connected, and nothing was ever reciprocated until just before she passed away. And when she passed away, it was the first time that I had ever heard her say, that she loved me and that I was beautiful, and to me, hearing that for the very first time, that meant something. That, it didn't change what had happened, but it did put closure on the things that had happened. But I knew that after we left my parents' house that day, that I was living my true life, and whether my mom agreed with us getting married because she didn't want to see the wedding pictures, she didn't want to, take part, see any of that. But I knew what I had and who I had in my life. And I was living a life that was brighter, and there wasn't that same amount of dysfunction going on in my own household that I grew up with.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. This is what this space is about, redefining your family.
Right.
And we do have to move into a healthy direction with our family that we created.
Right.
And sometimes that means that we need to move away from our family of origin.
Yep.
And it's taking a lot of courage to do so.
Yes, absolutely.
So I want to honor what a brave woman you are to do whatever it takes to set up your life in a way to raise your child differently than you've been raised.
That was without a doubt the biggest decision that I ever made, where I thought, I'm making this decision and I'm going to be hurt by this decision for the rest of my life. But when in fact, I knew that my daughter was going to be raised healthier and happier, then that was worth everything.
Yes.
Right. I didn't believe that whatever happened in my household when I was growing up needed to be replayed again. Like it just needed to be eaten up by the earth, swallowed whole, and never show its ugly face again for anybody.
Making sure that will never be part of your daughter's life.
Yeah.
Speaking of your daughter, had you come out to your daughter? And if you did, how was that experience?
Did I come out to my daughter? I don't think I ever had to come out to Holly. In fact, it was very interesting. We were talking about this podcast, and she listened to it. She shared with me how it was for her growing up.
I would love to hear that story and her experience.
Well, I will be more than happy to share that story with you. For her dad wasn't in her life very much. When she was growing up, he made a decision, and I played a role in that decision. I opened a door and said, you can walk either direction, and I will never ask questions. I will never hunt you down, nothing. He made that choice.
Right.
But for her, since the time that she was 3 months old when my mom found out that I was gay. And then when she was 10 months old is when I got into my first long-term, very serious relationship with a woman. And so from 10 months until she was just about 5, I was in that relationship. From the time she was 5 until almost 7, it was just the two of us. And then from that time on with Sonia, and I think Sonia's probably the best role model that she's had in her life, besides myself. I consider myself to be a very, positive influence in her life. But Sonia has brought so much to the table in her relationship. And even though they haven't seen eye to eye on everything, there's so much value in everything that's gone on. And especially now that she's 25, raising her own child, she's starting to really look back and see those things and see the benefit of everything that she's been through. But for me to have to come out to her, that's never been something that I've ever spoken with her. Like, mommy's gay. That's just the way it is. I was very picky in the places where we lived. I always made sure that we lived in a neighborhood where it was very diverse. I never wanted her growing up, thinking that I was the only one that was out there like this, the other friends and people that had this. And her grandmother on her dad's side had always been in her life. So she brought a richness to that relationship as well. Sonia's family has brought a richness to that.
Right.
And then the schools that I've always chosen for her have always, had that. So I never had to come out to her schools and say, well, I'm gay. So just so you know, this is my daughter. Yeah, it's never been like that.
I love it. I love it. That's what we try to create here, a world where no one needs to come out anymore and just normalizing.
Mm-hmm.
So won't be treated as a minority and discrimination. And it's just one human falling in love with another human. And whatever the gender identity is, it's irrelevant. It's just love, and we fall in love and we create our own family.
Exactly. It's unusual to sit from the perspective of where we're coming from. Sonia's mom growing up in the 50s and the 60s, us growing up in the 70s and 80s, and seeing the progression and to being, honored to have the life that we do right now, where being in the military, we're an acceptable couple. We do things through the military, and everything about our life, being parents, being grandparents, being a loving couple, being, a military and a military supporter, we don't have to question that as much as we did quite a few years ago.
Yeah, I think it's going to change. We're just fortunate that we're like right in the middle. We've had a little bit of the past and a little bit of the future. Mm-hmm. And like I never thought we'd be able to see the day where I would be able to get married and still be in the military.
Yes, we need to be aware of that and honor that. We are living amazing times. And all we could do is to keep showing up here and share our stories and help people. They are probably a little bit behind of where the world is going. Just help them to catch up and be a part of it.
Right. So I think we'll see that.
We are seeing it. It's happening.
Definitely.
Yeah. Even more so. Yeah, it'll be the norm. It will definitely become the norm because like nobody talks about same-sex marriages anymore. People just get married and that's just it.
Yeah.
And in parts of the world where it's not legal yet, people continue to show up and make that possible for them. And it's all about taking a stand. Each one of us, part of rainbow community or not, because I do believe that the future holds a better life for our children.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do believe that when my son is going to be a full-grown man, he will have a full freedom of falling in love, finding his partner, and create his own family.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that is because we are taking a stand, and he is taking a stand. I mean, as a parent, of course, I want him to remove his rainbow ribbon of his uniform because I'm worried of being bullied and having people saying mean things.
Right. He's standing for what he believes in.
Yes.
And there's great honor in that.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier, trusting that our children are making the right choice. And as a parent, I get to honor the fact that my son is taking a stand for himself, and for other kids, they don't have the courage to do so.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're taking a stand as well. You take a stand every time that you release one of your podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
You're broadening the views in this world because you're bringing, these topics out into the open for other people to hear and experience and understand the things that are going on in this world.
Educated everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate you acknowledge that. Thank you. And in closing, I want to invite you both, if you have any final thoughts to share or any advice for our audience.
Be true. Really, it's just about being true to who you are. Inside of you, you already know. We all already know who we are. And once we get in touch with that gut intuition and we follow it and we build the life that we want, incredible. It really, truly is. You're able to surround yourself with the people that really matter in your life.
Mm.
And being able to see that and bring other people into that is an amazing place to be. So just
be true. Have the courage to be who you are and show the world who you really are. Beautiful.
Exactly. Yep. I was just going to say, be brave and courageous. Step forward and really talk to your parents and share your ideas and share your fear and your fear of mostly disappointing, because that's with, it doesn't matter if you're gay or not, you still don't want to disappoint your parents. So my advice is just to talk to your parents about it, because you just never know. They're just waiting for you to say something, and they think that it's not a big deal, but for you it's like a mountain.
Right.
And so just keep that open communication with your parents and your family, and it's not that big of a deal. You'll be really surprised. But be brave and live your life.
Yes, be brave, live your life, talk with your parents.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, both of you. I really appreciate for coming back and sharing with us your personal experience. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Thank you for tuning in to Redefine Family, a Spark Transformation podcast. Feel free to share your story, knowing that your story could change someone's life. We invite you to spread the love by sharing our message with others. And leave your comments at spark@redefinefamily.com. Until next time, remember that you are the spark in your life. Just shine bright.